Hello, underachievers! It's very hot, really uncomfortably warm. But yeah, today we're gonna have a little look at Reddit. Is that ever a good sentence? No, it's not a good anything, but we're gonna do it. Today we're on Ask Reddit, and the question is, what's something you wish you could ask trans people without any judgment? I myself happen to be trans. I did the thing. I did that. I've done it. It's been done, and now I'm not stopping. But, to be completely honest, I love answering questions. There are some questions I hate answering, but some of them I just love. I enjoy being interviewed. And, I love it when people ask me questions that maybe they're too afraid to ask somebody else. I like that, some people see me as somebody that they can approach and say, hello, what's in the genital region? Obviously not. But yeah, this channel, I've been answering questions for way too long, and I'm gonna keep doing it. So, today, let's see what people have got to ask trans people. Do periods go away when you start T? Is there a way to get rid of them without surgery? Most of the time, when a trans guy starts testosterone, his periods will usually get a lot lighter, or they'll stop. I feel like most trans guys I know, their periods have stopped or gotten so minuscule that it's barely noticeable. I've been on testosterone for over 4 years, and I still get the periods. Every single month, all the time, I get it bad, I get the cramps. I am on special medication for it, because I used to pass out and shit everywhere and throw up when I was younger, because my periods were so bad. But yeah, it kind of depends on the person, but I'd say most of the time, your period will go away if your testosterone levels are adequate. I've had my testosterone levels checked. They're normal. They're all good. So I don't know why my body hates me. Maybe it's God saying, hey, when I made you a girl, I wasn't joking. Do you get to choose a size? Oh my god, okay. This is about bottom surgery. This is about, I assume, phalloplasty. There are 2 types of bottom surgery for trans guys. Most people, when they think of bottom surgery, they think of phalloplasty, which is where you get a skin graft from your body. You can get, your arm skin cut off for the penis. You can get the leg skin cut off for the penis. You can get, abdomen skin. And I think there's maybe a few other places, but most commonly it's the arm or the leg. And do you get to choose a size? Kind of not. If you wanted a 12-inch willy, you could not get that unless you had 12 inches of arm skin, and then even thinking about that, no, you just could never. You could never choose any size that's, too big, because when you get phalloplasty, what they do is they have to lengthen your urethra, your tube, the place where you pee from, and that's very difficult. That's where the majority of the complications come from when you have surgery. But there's only so much that you can lengthen a urethra. Pretty much, to answer the question, can you choose a size? Once you know what the maximum size is, after your surgeon tells you, you can choose to have smaller than that. You can't go bigger than the maximum size, obviously. But, most of the time, I think the average phalloplasty length is, around 5 inches, 6 inches. So, pretty average. But also, it depends on your body. A lot of the time, if you get the skin graft from your leg, it will be a lot thicker than if you got it from the skin graft on your arm, because your leg holds more fat. But yeah. I feel like I've answered that. What questions do you wish people would stop asking you? Oh god. Number 1, I've never met a trans person that enjoys being asked what their birth name is. I know there's a lot of curiosity. I feel like I understand where the curiosity comes from. If you don't know much about trans people, you don't know a trans person, you meet a trans person, you're like, hey, your name's Roger, but what were you born as? I understand the curiosity, but it's a disrespectful question to ask, because there's a reason that trans people change their names, because they don't like the old ones. And I feel like it's kind of just a respect thing. It's not necessary for you to know somebody's dead name, but out of respect, it just feels like a kind of question where you're just like, hey, I get it, you're a guy and all, but what was your name when you were a girl? It just feels disrespectful, it's uncomfortable, and for a lot of people, their old name gives them a lot of dysphoria, because it reminds them of a time when things, weren't that great for them. So yeah, not a fan of being asked what my birth name is. Obviously, not a fan of being asked what's down there. I feel like these are questions that every trans person has been asked. It's none of your business. It's also weird, because the people that ask those questions, majority of the time, are not your friends and family. They are strangers that you have never met. And I think, I don't think anybody should ask any stranger what they have in their pants, because that's weird. People think that trans people are weird, but I really think that cis people who ask questions like that are weirder. What else? What other questions? Oh, I don't like being asked how I have sex, because again, that's a weird question to ask anybody. I feel like most of the time you can probably just guess. You can kind of imagine, hey, how do people have sex? Think about how you have sex. probably quite similar to that, but you probably don't have sex if you're asking somebody that question. Does sitting down feel different after you get bottom surgery? I have never had that. I did not do that, and I will not do that. But people that I know that have had bottom surgery, yes, it does feel different, because, you know, if you're a trans guy and you have a put on you, that's different. Same with a trans woman who had a lady part put in between her legs. It's gonna feel different. That's like asking, like, hey, if you put Play-Doh in your underwear and you sit down and it squishes up against your butthole, does that feel different? I'm not making fun of you. I'm not judging. Is it possible for a person to have an orgasm after reassignment surgery? Yes, absolutely. I know that a lot of people think that getting bottom surgery means that, you know, you've destroyed your life. You've destroyed your genitals. You'll never have a pleasurable experience ever. That's so not true. I have spoken to many people who have had bottom surgery, and they are very happy with it. They have a great time. I have a trans woman friend who's documented her orgasms on Twitter just because it's interesting, and you know, it takes a long time to heal, and she said she's had the best orgasms of her life after bottom surgery. So absolutely. Is there any part of you that is genuinely worried that it is just a phase? I can only speak for myself. I know that other people may feel differently. No, just in my experience, I was never worried about it being just a phase, because I am more in the lane of, you know, being worried that I was trans, because I knew that I was trans. I've never thought it was just a phase, because, unless my entire life is just a phase. I was going around as a 4-year-old in the playground telling people my name was Alex and I was a boy. There is not a doubt in my mind. It's definitely not a phase. How far along the FTM process do you start to have bowel movements? Since everyone knows girls don't poop, does it start after you've been on testosterone for long enough, or only post-op? That's very good. It's very good. It's actually as soon as you get the shot, as soon as it happens. If you've ever seen I'm starting testosterone video on YouTube, they have just cut out the part where they shit down their leg. If you're transitioning male to female and are on hormone replacement therapy but haven't had bottom surgery yet, does the penis shrink up and become unusable? I mean, it obviously depends entirely on the person. Everybody's bits are different. For the majority of the people that start estrogen, their genitals, shrink. When I think of shrink, I think like this. The majority of the people that go on estrogen, it gets smaller. It gets a lot smaller. It's not unusable in most cases. That it's still possible to use it. If you transition from male to female, can you still go bald as you get older, or do the hormones prevent that from happening? I mean, like cis women can go bald, but yeah, in most cases, when people go bald, it's caused by DHT, you know, testosterone. And if you go on estrogen and your testosterone levels are lower and you go on a testosterone blocker, you're not gonna get male pattern baldness. So like, yeah, if you're worried about being bald as a man, you could just transition. You could simply just do that. For those born with unisex names such as Alex, do you still feel the need to change your name to reflect your new identity? I can't answer this question, but I do know people that had gender neutral names at birth and they did change their names. I'm pretty sure I also know a trans woman called Derek. So it just depends on the person. If, for example, someone is born male but transitions to be female, and they are sexually attracted to men, are they considered gay prior to the transition, but then straight after the transition? Again, this depends entirely on the person. I think this is an interesting kind of situation where a lot of these questions can just be answered with that. You know, I considered myself a straight girl before I came out, and now I'm a bi man, but then sometimes I didn't consider myself a straight girl. It's weird. It's not a common experience, you know, there's not that many trans people, but yeah, it depends on the person. A lot of people are just like, you know, if they're a trans guy, a lot of people are adamant that they were never a girl. They'll be like, yeah, back then I was never a girl, people just saw me as a girl. I'm of the opinion that, like, I for all intents and purposes, I was a girl. I didn't know that I was trans when I was younger. I mean, I knew that I wanted to be a boy, and that I felt like a boy, and that people saw me as a boy because I looked like a boy, because I asked my parents to cut my hair and give me boys' clothes. But, you know, I was treated as a girl. I was registered in school as a girl. I played girls' sports, I was in girls' classrooms, I was, you know, I experienced sexism just as a girl would, maybe a different kind of sexism because I was androgynous, or I look like a tomboy, and there's a whole load of different experiences, but like, I experienced life as a girl. So I would say that I was straight back then. Even though I'm bi now, I don't think I was bi back then. I don't know. Do non-binary people or people who are gender fluid count as trans, even if they still mostly present as their assigned gender at birth with no intent to change? Again, I hate to answer it with the same answer, but it depends on the person. For me, if I was a non-binary person and I didn't want to transition and I made no changes, didn't change my pronouns, any of that, I wouldn't call myself trans because I guess that word may just confuse people. But again, like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with calling yourself trans if you're non-binary, and you feel like that. A lot of non-binary people transition further medically than I have. Like, a lot of non-binary people get bottom surgery. There's a huge range of non-binary people, and they do not all experience life in the same way. But like, if you're non-binary, you can feel free to call yourself trans. To me, trans just means identifying as a gender that you were not assigned at birth. And I feel most people were not assigned non-binary at birth. Why do you all keep calling me an egg? Am I not allowed to just be a feminine man? Yeah, I don't like this. If you didn't know what an egg is, pretty much it's the idea that if somebody is an egg, they've just not been cracked yet. That just means that they're trans, but they've not realized it yet. I don't like it. I don't like the usage of that word. I don't like it. I don't think it's a normal or nice or kind thing to do, to tell somebody that they're an egg, that they're trans, and they just haven't realized it. Because, like, being trans is obviously very personal. It's about your identity, which is something only you can really understand to the fullest extent. But yeah, I don't like it. You shouldn't be going around saying that. It's the same thing of being like, oh, I know you're bi. I know you're really gay. It's weird. If gender roles didn't exist and men and women were actually treated equally, would all trans people still be trans? What about non-binary? How much of it is wanting to be physically different, and how much of it is not identifying with a gender role? I can only answer this from my experience. Personally, my motivation for coming out as trans and transitioning is purely dysphoria. I think regardless of whether or not, like, men or women were equal and treated the same, I would still be very uncomfortable with my body and my genitals. I used to, you know, make packers out of Play-Doh. I would make willy-shaped things and put them in my pants as a kid, and it gave me relief, because I was like, oh, that feels better. So just me personally, I don't think that if we lived in a society like that, that I would not be trans. I'm not trans because I liked playing with boy things or climbing trees when I was younger. I'm just trans because, you know, I'm a guy. Like, that's the body I should have. I would ask, is it offensive when others refer to you as trans woman or trans man rather than woman or man? Again, it depends on the person. Me personally, I do not see the need to refer to me as a trans man unless it's followed by something that is relevant to the fact that I'm trans. Like, if we're talking about a YouTube video I made about being trans, calling me a trans man, that's not an issue. For me, mentioning trans stuff when it's not necessary or relevant really bugs me, because as a trans person, a lot of people assume that your entire life revolves around the fact that you're trans. They think you think about being trans all day, and when I was younger, that was certainly true because I was so dysphoric, I hated myself, I wanted to die. Nowadays, being trans has no impact on my life apart from the fact that I talk about it. The only time I ever think about being trans, the only time I ever talk about it is when I'm online making videos like this, or when I see in the news there's a bunch of really horrible transphobic articles going around. Like, in terms of myself and my experience, I would just rather be called a man, just rather be called a dude. I'm just some guy. I'm a lesbian, but is it rude for me to say I wouldn't be sexually intimate with a trans woman if she hasn't had bottom surgery? Being trans isn't the issue, but I do not want a penis anywhere /in/near me. No, I don't think that's rude. Some people will say it's rude. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a genital preference. If you're not comfortable with handling a willy, I don't think it's rude to not want to do that. You should only be doing things that you're comfortable with. There's this whole idea that trans people are forcing people to have sex with them and telling them that they're transphobic if they don't want to do that. But yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, if you don't want to engage intimately with that kind of thing, then you shouldn't feel the need to. It's not rude. It only becomes rude when you tell somebody that, like, ugh, I'd never do that. That's disgusting. That's rude. You get me? I have no desire to sleep with somebody that doesn't want to sleep with me. I don't think it's rude. If somebody's like, hey, you know what? Not into what you got down there, that's fine. Me neither. Why do some of you vote for / support Republicans? Good question! I don't know! It doesn't make sense! You are not helping yourself or other marginalized communities. I'm not gonna say it's cause you're stupid. But yeah, that's the end of the video. If you have any questions, ask them below. No judgment, ask me whatever. I'm fine. Even awkward. Maybe I'll answer them. But yeah, have a good dodo. See you later, losers. Goodbye. Ugh! Double punch!